Again, my name is Rose Wachkona, and I'm going to present our position on the marriage bill. First of all, we want to congratulate the Parliament of Uganda for reintroducing the marriage bill for another time, yet again. This is something that we've been fighting for over 60 years as the women of Uganda, as we try to advance marriage equality. So we look forward to a bill that is going to not oppress women, not to exploit them and abuse them, but a bill that is actually going to liberate them and advance marriage equality. To start with, we wanted to say that marriage is grounded under Article 31 of the Constitution, which allows for the rights of the family, and under it, we see that people have a right to marry and found a family. They have equal rights in marriage, during the marriage, and upon the dissolution of the marriage. They have parental rights that are equal between the spouses. They have succession rights, and they also have individualized free consent to enter and exit the marriage. We also have the protection of children, which is handled under different acts. So we are hoping that the spirit of the bill is going to be in line with Article 31 of the Constitution to advance the rights of all. The fight for marriage laws started in 1964. I think this is something that the committee is aware of, with the Commission on Marriage, Divorce and the Status of Women, where a report was made to try and advance women's rights, but it was ignored. Subsequently, in 2003, this discussion was resurrected when we had the Domestic Relations Bill. This bill in itself was very progressive. It advanced the criminalization of the refund of bride price. It advanced conditions for people to enter polygyny. It also criminalized widow inheritance, and also advanced property rights for women who are not just married, but also those who are in cohabiting relationships. It also rejected sex, allowed for the rejection of sex for women on health grounds. This particular bill was opposed and subsequently abandoned by that parliament at the time. In 2009, we had new bills that were introduced. We had the Marriage and Divorce Bill and also the Administration of Muslim Personal Law Bill. Once again, this law was opposed and also put on the back burners. 60 years down the road, we are still having this same conversation. And we, as the women's rights movement, we haven't changed our position in our asks towards our parliamentarians. We have spent the last 60 years seeking a law that guarantees marriage equality and not a law that perpetuates marriage as an institution for the exploitation, subordination, and oppression of women. We hope that the marriage bill will do this for us as the women of Uganda. To give it a bit of context, I want us to note that marriage is procured publicly. We have public marriage ceremonies where people come and celebrate a couple coming together. But most of marriage is unfortunately performed privately. And it's in private where women suffer the most abuse, including domestic violence. And it's in the private also where the law hesitates to actually enter, regulate, and legislate a law that guarantees the full rights in marriage as recognized under Article 31 of the Constitution. So we have people who are living in monogamous marriages, people who are living in polygamous marriages, those who are divorced and separated, those who are widowed, and also those who are never married. And we see that the bulk of Ugandans actually are living in monogamous unions, either legally married or cohabitating. Only 11% live in polygamous situations, 12% are actually divorced, widowed are 13%, and 5.5% are unmarried. We also see the forms of marriage that we have in the second table, where we see that civil marriages are only 1.1%, customary take the bulk at 25%, religious marriages are actually only 9%, and those who are cohabitating are almost 27% of the population. When we look at the context of marriage in Uganda, seeing as almost 83% of all Ugandans are living in or have formed some sort of family forming relationship, and seeing also as our marriage laws are completely outdated. We have the Marriage Act, which was formulated in 1904, the Divorce Act in the same year, the Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act in 1961, the Mohammedan Marriage and Divorce Act in 1906, and also the Customary Marriages Act, which was recently amended in 2000.
Now, Mr. Chairman, my issue is not specific to any clause. I have a generic issue, and the issue is that do we need this law? Do we really need this law? Because in the introduction that the lady made, I'm forgetting the name, Rose, thank you for the presentation. It was well presented. In your introduction, you said, you alluded to the fact that this is more or less a women's liberation bill. This is the women are looking at this bill as an opportunity to liberate themselves, to start breathing. So other than looking at it as a women's liberation bill, as an opportunity for the women to incrementally liberate themselves, do we really require this law other than looking at it from that perspective? Because we have a problem. If that's the perspective, then we are going to have men also going to a cocoon to see how they can also either maintain the status quo or even liberate themselves, because there is a feeling that women have already made big gains in as far as their status is concerned in a marriage. So the question is, do we really need this law? In my view, I'm tending to think that we may not need it, because I don't see any problem. Is there a gap? People are marrying every day. Marriages are going on. Courts have pronounced themselves on key important matters relating to property. Those pronouncements are there, and they are guiding the country on how to share property in the event of the dissolution of marriage. Children's rights have been well canvassed through the children's rights, but also court pronouncements. So, to me, I think this is a redundant law, but you may need to convince us whether we need to take a lot of time on this law, or we just recommend to Parliament that the situation is not so bad. It's not one of the issues Uganda is so much dying to have, such that we don't go into unnecessary tearing each other in the name of creating a law when we are actually creating more problems. Back to you, Rose.
And how it is long overdue, and the historical perspective relating to it, all the way from 1964 coming forward. But you pose a very pertinent issue, which we seek opinion. It's not a summary of the discussion. It's an opinion that we seek your input. Yes, let's follow the order so that we have a schematic presentation.
I tend to differ with my chair that do we need this law? For me, I think we need this law. Some of the things are going on well. There are certain things we need to emphasize on, and if they were made into a law, it will help us a lot. However, there are some few things I picked out. One of them is about civil marriage. Civil marriage, I strongly agree with you that it should be monogamous. It has been monogamous, let it remain monogamous to protect our families. Secondly, about cohabiting. I think cohabiting has existed since time immemorial. So I again agree with you that in case of anything, women should be allowed to marry more than one man. I think that one, I don't agree with it, because first of all, we are going against culture. Secondly, we are going against nature. If you have married two men, you sleep with all of them one night, and you conceive. The child, you have to go for DNA. That one I disagree. Another thing I disagree with is the man using a wife's name. I think surely according to our culture, usually a woman, you leave your home to go and live in the man's home and in the man's clan. Now you are living in the man's clan, and because you are, maybe you are the bread earner, now you want your husband to take on your name. I think that one is very wrong. I disagree with it. I beg to submit, Chair.
It's interesting, and I really want to thank you for having taken time to analyze. But Chair, I am interested in the introduction. In the introduction, she notes that it has taken 60 years having a discussion around this issue. And like the chair of legal, I want also to ask a generic question. Did they also sit to ask themselves why it has taken this long? And if we have the answers to that, how are we going to break through? Because, Chair, my opinion is that yes, we seem to be asking for good things, but my opinion is that we are asking for too much. And because we are asking for too much, we may end up not getting what we are looking for. I don't want to look like I am not a woman activist. For the last 17 years, I was an activist, and I can tell you that I did wonderful work for women. But my thinking is that this law is a very good law, but if we come in and we start asking for too much, we may yet take more 60 years. So how do we start small and then gain big? For me, Chair, that is my opinion. Thank you.
From the landslide district of Bududa, thank you for a good presentation. Before I make my submission, I would like to tell the chair of legal that indeed we need this law. It is long overdue. Like my colleague has said in her introduction, he said we have spent 60 years. This bill has been shelved year in, term out. Term in, it is shelved because of the things that we are demanding as women that men do not agree with. But we have to live with the fact that you come in marriage with love, and at a certain moment things go bad, and you have nothing to do but separate. And as you separate, how do we divide the property? I think this law has come in the right time, because marriages are breaking every day. People are in court every day. And I have come in a marriage very young. I have worked for the last 20 years. You have depleted me of all the children, the beauty, everything. And you want the woman to go out empty-handed. It is not real good. But like my colleague has said, this bill has been shelved many times because of the many demands that we make and men are not agreeable with. Like he has said, there's no we can bring in and say, let the women also have many husbands like the men do. It is culture that you marry one man and that is it. It is constructed by culture. Carrying the name of a woman, it is impossible. So for us to penetrate and have this law passed, there are things we have to agree and drop as women for us to be successful. Otherwise, we are going to make these colleagues of ours mad. They will think we are coming to grab their things and whatever. I want to talk about premarital counseling. To me, I think it is very, very important. It contributes to a successful marriage. The people who go in marriage without anything, without no knowledge of what they are going to do. So they need counseling from several people. They need counseling from the parents. They need counseling from the singers. They need counseling from religious leaders. I think this is important, and we need to carry it on.
I have a number of and answer the questions in my mind. I think we need to make a law, first of all, that does not cause chaos in society, that does not cause confusion, disorder, but that will cause peace in the institution of marriage and the broader society. Secondly, I'm wondering whether the proponents of some of these extreme ideas have taken into consideration the foundations of our society, because I know every society has its own culture and way of doing things. The level we are moving, I'm asking for, because I know that improvement does not mean a total change, but you improve from the foundations of your society. By the look of things, these proposals seem to achieve an overhaul of the foundations of our society. For example, if you look at our African society, like in Uganda here, she has ably said it that most of our families are patrilineal, and when it comes to marriage, the man carries gifts to the lady's family. But if you go in some society like in India, it is the women who pay this bride price. And therefore, the children carry the identity of the woman. And the woman is the head of the family. Whereas here the construction is the other way around. Because from the beginning we initiate the marriage, we host the marriage and we pay the gifts. Our cultural construction is that the children carry the identity of the man. So where you say that, do you want to say that we should have a choice of whose identity the children take, that it is now a choice? You agree, either the identity is of the man or of the woman. That's why I'm saying the law should not seek to bring confusion. Have we taken into consideration the foundations of our society? Because this is an African society, this is a Ugandan society. We cannot pretend. That's why Honorable Nandutu is saying, do we abolish the payment of gifts, bride price and whatever? Such that now, but a family is an institution, like many other institutions, which should be organized with a clear structure of leadership and authority. So I don't know what we are seeking to achieve, whether, because I know whether it is an organization, whether it is a family, there should be a structure of leadership. So I don't know what structure of leadership are you envisaging in this family you are proposing. Secondly, when you come as a woman to the man's home, you don't come to be catered for. This is a mentality which has preoccupied both educated and the uneducated women, which is a backward mind, in my view. For somebody to think that I get married to Joab for Joab to look after me. No! You come for us to look after ourselves. You look after me as I look after you. So when you say, but now this leadership is being challenged. Now, when you say that for a man to marry a second woman, there should be proof of the ability to cater for you. I don't think you come to me for me to cater for you. We join together to cater for ourselves. You cater for me as I cater for you. So this mindset that men should care for you is a wrong thinking. And it will keep women backward. You see? Finally, I want to ask or advise, why don't we also provide in this law for contractual marriage? Such that when I get married to you, we agree for a given period. Once that period, or we say we are going to produce 2 children, after 2 children, we separate. Or we are going to be together for 10 years. We are saying civil marriage, religious marriage, and which other marriage, which are polygamous, I mean monogamous. There are 2? 2, no. Civil and religious. These 2 marriages are meant to be what? Monogamous. At what stage does one make a change of mind to either keep to keep in monogamy or to cross over into polygamy? Why don't you propose for an inclusion of a contractual marriage in this bill? Otherwise, some people are kept now, are held captive in marriages, and it is resulting into a number of challenges. So, Mr. Chairman, those are some of the very first ideas.
Thank you,
present.
Joab, maybe for the record for our guests, would you tell them which part of Uganda you come from?
I come from the western part, from Masin district. And I'm a married man, by the way, for the last 20 years. And we are catering for each other. My wife cares for me, I also do care for her.
For the last how many years?
For the last 20 years.
Very good.
I've been married from 2004 up to date.
Thank you for your input. Let's have the next.
We also welcome the prohibition of the demand for the return of bride price, which also aligns with the Mifumi decision, and this is something that we believe is going to lower domestic violence in our country. We also applaud the recognition of presumption of parentage, which we believe is going to add value towards the stability of marriages. We also welcome the provisions on matrimonial property, as people who represent women in court when they are unfortunately at the end of their relationships and are going through the breakage of a family. One of the biggest issues we face is the division of property, and our laws had never set standards. So we are very excited that this act is actually trying to cure this problem, and happy that it's going to set a standard that perhaps will reduce the backlog that we currently have in courts and create more harmonized jurisprudence. We also applaud the recognition of premarital and postmarital agreements. We are now in the era of empowered women. We as women want to protect our property, and we hope that these agreements will help us to do that. And also we applaud the recognition of non-monetary contributions to our family, which recognize unpaid care work, which heavily burdens women in families.
Thank you. I'm not a member of the Legal or Gender Committee, but I'm a member of Parliament, the woman MP for Pakwach. I'm called Avur Jane Pachuto. Chair, 2 things. I just want to pick on, while I was putting my hand was when Honorable Neolin was presenting, and she was talking about liability, probably, and assets. And I participated during workshops of this marriage bill. And I know that nobody is born married. There's a process to get to be married. And some marry well at 18, these days even 14. Some marry at 57, 40. Some marry at 35. So because of that age difference, no fixed age where one can get married, most likely one of the spouse or partner will go into marriage when he or she already has assets and probably liabilities. Now, when I do not transfer my assets to the marriage, it is not part of the marriage. That's what I understand. If you got me when I already have a car, have a house, or land, and I did not transfer, that we live all our life and I don't transfer, I don't think the other spouse can claim it in any way. Same with liability. If you have a loan in the bank and we have not discussed it, you have not even disclosed it, and you've not transferred it to the marriage, then how are we arguing that, you see, I've come in this marriage, I had my big loan of 200 million, so you must take over. I think we need to be careful there, because I may have got that loan and have not disclosed it, and I want it that way. So for me, Honorable Neolin, that's where we don't agree. And then I want to agree with my brother that came before Honorable Neolin. People, I think we need to know the society from which we are coming from. From the time I was born a girl, I was raised a girl, not a man. I was even taught how to sit, how to talk, but of course talking I became a little bit different. But I was taught certain things. Even up to secondary school, I happened to go to a Catholic school. We were taught not, mangoes were in the compound and you are not supposed to run as a woman. When it drops, because you're in a community, walk and pick, or wait for them to be picked and brought to the dining. No struggling for food. So, I think our bringing in African society, especially the culture where I come from northern Uganda, marriage is not for economics. It is social. No woman in Pakwach there, I'll tell her, when you get married, first get to know how many bicycles, how many vehicles, how many plots of land, and they will take me seriously. They have come to marry, till the land, do maybe some business, produce children. And they are shown the land. This is where you are going to start digging. My brothers still dig and build where my grandmother, who was married in that clan, dug. So, whereas we must cope with the modern times, we must integrate our traditional, the positive aspects of our traditional, whatever. We cannot afford to start telling young girls in this society that as you go, Honorable Fox, he has a whole beach for himself. He has an airport. Then we are going to make the institution of marriage just a target. We are going to have target marriages. I come, we sign the certificate, and because I must claim that property, people even are going to kill each other, because when Fox dies, after all, I'm the married wife, I'll take over everything. I think marriage in our society, in the Ugandan society, most societies, is not for economics. It is social. And let us encourage women to be also hardworking. Women to own property. There is no law that forces you, because you are married, you must bring everything in a marriage.
Thank you, Jen.